So let's jump into part 2 of things I'll never do again. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about one of the greatest regrets of my life, okay? And that is simply this. For a long time, I became someone I wasn't in order to please other people. Have you done that? Have you ever tried to change who you are in order to let other people or try to get other people to love you or to accept you? Trying to please people is one of the easiest traps to fall into and one of the simplest traps to justify. This is a tough one for me, as I just said. Why? Because I grew up without a father. I grew up without a brother or sister, so I spent a long time as a child alone, and I felt lonely. If you've been part of Forest Park, you know that we moved often, so I was always the new kid in school, and we were the new family in our community, so I was constantly trying to make friends, and I would make a few friends, and then we'd leave and go to another community or another school system, and I'd try to make some friends, and then we would do the same thing again. So I battled for years with just feeling lonely. And I fell into the trap of pleasing other people. I thought I was merely making friends or attempting to. I was trying to respect other people's opinions, taking the high road, letting other people win the argument. But no, I was trying to please people so people would like me. And looking back, as a child and as a young student or a teenager and also even as a young adult, I certainly understand how I fell into that trap, and it makes a lot of sense. But boy, did it not cause me a lot of pain and a lot of emotional heartache. For years, I felt awkward, I felt stupid, I felt lonely. So I desired friends, and the easiest way for me to do that, I thought at that time, was to please people by changing who I am at the core and thinking that if I could mold myself around their expectations and try to become what it is they wanted me to become, they would love me and they would give me the things that were missing at the core of my being. And I had no idea at that time how unhealthy and ultimately destructive that would prove to be for me. Fully transparent here, I still fall into that trap. Here I am 50 years old, and there are times I find myself slipping back into the rut of trying to change maybe who I am, trying to change my personality a little bit, trying to give to some of the people around me what it is that I think they want so that they will be pleased with me. Not nearly as much as I used to, but hey, you can't live a people pleaser for years and then just suddenly change and never have that problem again. But more and more, God has brought healing to me. I've gone through a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, some counseling, a lot of reading, a lot of falling on my face. And I don't do it as much as I used to, but from time to time, I still feel that pull in me. Today, I'm a lot stronger, and I state my opinions, and I'm clear about who I am and what I value and what I don't value, and I put some boundaries in my life, and boundaries are never easy to erect because you do make some people upset, and if you're a people pleaser, that's one of the hardest things that you can imagine is making people upset because you want to please them. But today, I'm a lot stronger with that. Now, as a result of those boundaries and staying who I am, have I lost friends? Yes. Have I made people upset? Yes. Does it bother me? Yes. But I cannot afford to compromise who I am to please people. It is contrary to the person God made me to be, and it's dishonest and eventually destructive. Now, let's face it. People pleasing is about trying to control how other people feel. I didn't see that for years. I didn't understand that I was actually attempting to control how the people around me felt about me. And that is a losing battle. None of us are powerful enough to change the feelings permanently about how other people, the feelings they have toward you, and make them like you. I didn't realize that I was actually in a manipulation game. I was trying to manipulate them and make them feel a certain way. Hey, let's take a moment and just kind of evaluate ourselves. Amy Morin, in her book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, in her book, she makes a few statements to let us know whether or not we might fall into the trap of being a people pleaser. Let me read these and just evaluate yourself. Just maybe jot down something, type it into your phone, or maybe kind of score yourself as we go through these. These are not all of them, but these are a few of them. Ask yourself if this is you, all right? People pleaser. If you're a people pleaser, you feel responsible for how other people feel. Is that you? Number two, the thought of someone being mad at you causes you to feel uncomfortable. Number three, you find it easier to agree than to express a contrary opinion. You just agree because you don't want to put your opinion out there because it's going to be contrary maybe to the group or to the 2 or 3 people you're trying to please. Number four, you often apologize even if you didn't do anything wrong. Is that you? Number five, you tend to say yes when people ask for favors even if you don't want to do it. But you just don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to let them down, so you say yes. Number six, you change behaviors based on what you think people expect. Number seven, you put a lot of energy in trying to impress other people. Number eight, when someone around you is upset, you take responsibility to help them feel better. Oh, so-and-so's upset. I'm going to have to do what I can to help them feel better. I feel responsible. I got to make them smile. I've got to make them be happy. Is that you? Number nine, you never want someone to think you're selfish. So you're always trying to do something, especially in front of other people. You want to put something on Facebook. You want to let people know, I'm not a selfish person. I love people. I care for people. Is that you? And the last one I'm going to give you here is you often feel overscheduled and overburdened. And the reason that's true is because you say yes to so many people. Yes, even when you don't have time. Yes, even though it's not your gifting. Yes, even though you know you can't get it done, but you're going to try your best because the thought of people being upset with you bothers you. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. Why do we try to please everyone? If I had to bring it all down to just one word, one concept, here it is: fear. We try to please other people because we are afraid. We fear conflict. We don't want to go to work if we have disputes going on there, and if there's people arguing or there's some tension, you just avoid it. You don't want to get into it because you're not going to win. Somehow these people are going to be upset at you if you express your opinion, or these people are going to be upset at you, and you're just afraid. So you avoid conflict. People pleasers often avoid conflict. We don't want to interact with our family at a reunion because we know that they're going to get into an argument. So rather than getting in there and maybe, stating your opinion and being strong and keeping some healthy boundaries, you just avoid the whole thing because you don't want to fall on one side and have the other part of the family upset with you. You want them all to love you, and you know that's not going to happen, so you avoid the whole thing. We won't post our ideas on social media because we fear somebody will criticize our ideas, and we just cannot handle people disagreeing with us. It's fear. We are afraid of conflict. So we think if I can please everyone, then we will all get along and everybody will be at peace. And it's not just fear of conflict. The fear goes even deeper than that, or you could say wider than that. We fear rejection or abandonment. We are scared to death that people are going to push us away, and we figure if we can simply keep them happy with us, then they will accept us and love us, because the thought of someone pushing us away, the thought of someone rejecting us, that just stings at the core of our being. So we will avoid conflict at work, conflict with the family, conflict on social media. We just want to spend most of our lives free of conflict, and it's because we are afraid. Now, a few of us learned to be people pleasers by our parents. Either they argued and fought so much when you were a kid, you remember them screaming at one another or arguing with one another, and maybe your daddy or mama slept on the couch, or your dad had to leave the house to get away from your mom, and they just fought all the time. So you're just like, I'm never going to have a home like that. So what you think will cause you to avoid that or keep that at bay is avoid conflict. You've never learned how to have healthy conflict or how to argue in a healthy way. You just think all argument's bad, so you do everything you can to avoid conflict. Also, some of you may have learned in your childhood because you were taught, directly or indirectly, to do whatever you had to do to keep mama happy. Because if mama wasn't happy, then nobody in the family was happy. Or daddy wasn't happy, nobody in the family was happy. So you walked around somewhat on eggshells, And, if daddy said the TV was too loud, you turned it down. If daddy didn't want you to do this, you didn't do that. If mama got upset about this, you did that. You just did whatever you could. Now that you're a parent, that's what you think either the kids are supposed to do, or that's what you're always trying to do, is make everybody happy. And here's a tough one. The church, unhealthy, dangerous churches is actually what I call them, has produced a lot of people pleasers by incorrectly teaching us that we are to be doormats, that we are to allow people to walk all over us, that if you follow Jesus, Jesus was meek and mild, and you're just to lay down and let everybody else step on you, and you're supposed to avoid conflict at all costs because any argument is wrong, any conflict is contrary to Jesus because he was just the peacemaker all the time, and you're never supposed to do that. So you have this kind of going on inside of you. Some of you are listening to what I'm saying, and you're like, I got all of that going on. I got the mama issues and daddy. I've got being a lonely child. I've got fear of conflict. And I was told in churches when I was growing up that I'm supposed to be please people and try to avoid conflict. I got all that stuff going on. Here's the overall problem with pleasing people. It's a fantasy game. That's what it is. It's not real. I am attempting to create a fake world. Nobody can please everybody all the time. Husbands cannot please their wives all the time. Wives cannot please their husbands. You can't please your employer. You can't please your employees. You can't please your neighbors. You can't even please all people within the church. You can't please the pastor. Pastor can't please the people. And if you think somehow you can balance on that razor's edge of always keeping people happy, you're living in a fantasy world. One of the authors that has kicked my behind over and over again when it comes to facing reality and accepting the world for who it is Anthony DeMello. Often I'll quote something on Facebook or maybe on Instagram or something from Anthony. Just an incredible author, has just opened up my heart and mind to myself and to this importance of living in a real world. Here's a quote by him that I read just recently. I'm actually going through his book again. He says, when you're ready to exchange your illusions for reality, when you're ready to exchange your dreams for facts, that's the way you find it all. That's where life finally becomes meaningful. Life becomes beautiful. I'm telling you, for a long time, I didn't live in reality. I thought somehow I could give everybody what they wanted and smile when I was supposed to and, say the things I was supposed to, and especially even in the church world, believe all the things I was told, interpret scriptures a certain way like all the other people do, that somehow I would just find all this love and acceptance from people. That is a fantasy world. It is time, as DeMello says, to exchange your illusions for reality. So, for the next few minutes, I want to help exchange your illusions for realities, all right? Let me give you some big thoughts. Number one, people-pleasing is not generous. When you think about it, always trying to please people is not a selfless act. It is a self-centered act. Now you say, why is that? Because it assumes everyone cares about every move that you make and that you somehow have the ability and the power to control people's feelings and emotions and states of happiness by doing certain things. You, my friend, are not that powerful. I am not that powerful. It is impossible to make people love you, care for you, like you, and be your friend. And it sounds so selfless. I'm just going to love people and help people. But the reality is, it's very selfish because you are trying to control how other people feel. A French proverb said, the art of pleasing is the art of deceiving. Man, that is so true. That hits home. If someone is always attempting to please you, always attempting to get along with you, always trying to agree with you, you can lay money on the fact that he or she is deceiving you. It's an act of deception. A true friend will disagree with you. A true friend will at times argue with you. A true friend will push back against you because that's honest, that's real, that's life. Second big thought is it's impossible to please everyone. I've already mentioned that a couple times, but let's dive a little bit more into that. Here's what I've learned. You are almost always in the state of making someone upset. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're always in the state of making somebody upset. If you choose to spend extra time with your spouse, you fail to meet the expectations of your children. If you spend a lot of extra time meeting the expectations of your child, then you fail to meet the expectations of your customers at work. So you think, well, I'm going to spend more time at work and put in some extra hours and make our customers happy. Well, then you're going to make your spouse upset because you spent so much time at work, you didn't come home for dinner, or you didn't take her out or take him out where you're supposed to. You and I are almost always in the process of ticking someone off. You're just going to have to accept that. Let me ask you, are you okay with that? Are you okay ticking some people off? I don't mean intentionally. I don't mean you're doing things to hurt people or tick them off in the sense that you just don't care. But I mean, are you all right with the fact you disagree with someone disagrees with you, and maybe they don't necessarily enjoy your company? Are you okay with that? Can you live a happy, peaceful life with joy knowing you are making someone upset with you? If you can't, you need to deal with that. And we're going to talk about how in just a moment. The third big thought is people-pleasing holds you back. Bronnie Ware, an Australian nurse who spent years taking care of dying people, cites in her book that people-pleasing is one of the biggest regrets of her dying patients. Well, listen to that again. People-pleasing is one of the biggest regrets of her dying patients. In her book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, she says often she heard her dying patients say how they wished they lived more authentic lives instead of dressing and acting and speaking in a way that they believed other people wanted them to do. Research shows people pleasers tend, now get this, they tend to eat more if by eating more, other people seem happy. Somebody comes up to you and hands you a plate of food and says, oh, I want you to try this, and you've already eaten and you're full, but they really want you to try it, you'll eat. If other people around you are eating more and you think by eating more you'll make them happier, people pleasers tend to do that. They literally will put their health at risk just so that the group is happy with them. Here's basically what that means. When you are focused on pleasing other people, you will sacrifice your values, you'll sacrifice your health, what you find attractive, what you find interesting, all in an effort to please other people. Let me give you a secret, okay? A secret that I have tried to live out over the last few years, probably more so than ever before. A secret that when I say it, it makes so much sense, but it's a secret because a lot of us just don't know, and I want to give it to you. Here it is. Choose to please the right people. Choose to please the right people. Because trying to please everyone is a waste of time. You'll never do it. Remember, you're always in a state of displeasing someone. So choose to please the right people, which means you're going to have to choose to displease the right people. In other words, there are people I choose to please, and these are the people I choose to displease. And I know that sounds harsh, but you can't please them all. So you're going to have to choose the right people to please, and you're going to have to choose the right people to displease. And if you get that right, if you choose to please the right people and you displease the right people, I'm telling you, life is going to be so much better. By the way, maybe this will motivate a few of you. People pleasers are easy to manipulate. Others can recognize a people pleaser a mile away and take advantage of them. You'll hear phrases like this, and I've been there, I've heard this, and I've fallen into this trap before. You'll hear phrases like this. I know you're busy, but what are they doing? They know you're busy, they know you don't have time, but they also know you're a people pleaser. So if they ask you to do it, you're going to somehow try to squeeze it in to your schedule. Here's another one. I hate to ask, but I know you'll do a great job. Here's a third one. Let me know if you don't want to help, but why are they doing that? Because they know that they can pull you in with this sense of make us happy, pull you in with a sense of, I know you want to help, let me ask you to help me. So let me help you with that. People pleasers, listen to me, okay? If you got a people pleaser sitting in your room, look at them and tell them to listen to Scott, all right? Because I'm going to help you. Learn to say no. No is not a cuss word. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain no. You don't have to feel guilty about saying no. Say it with kindness, say it with respect, but say it with confidence. Say no. In fact, let's practice it right now. Everybody say no. No. See how easy that is? You don't have to explain it. All right, let's get back to the main point. Decide to please the right people. Let me ask you a huge question, and you need to work your way through this. Who are the right people in your life you need to please? Who are the right people in your life you need to please? Your children? Your husband or wife? Your pastor? I had to throw that in there. Your best friend? A parent? An employer? A customer? Who is it in your life you need to please? And they are the right people. Now, when I say please, I don't mean catering to every whim. I don't mean, giving them every single thing they want. I'm talking about truly being loving and faithful and consistent and honest and respectful, spending time with them, meeting their needs, going above and beyond at times to please them and to love them and to serve them. I mean, overall valuing them. Who are the people you choose to ultimately value in your life? Say, well, Scott, I'm not really sure if I can put that list together. Well, maybe this will help. Instead of listing people, list your values and then list the people fitting into those values. Let me give you an illustration. Do you value a strong marriage? And if you say, yes, I value a strong marriage, okay, then put your spouse on the list. That's a value you have, and your spouse fits into that value. Do you value a strong, healthy relationship with your parents? If so, then your parents need to be on that list. Do you value quality business and excellent customer service? Well, then your customers need to be on that list. Do you value a strong, spiritually vibrant life and growing in Christ and growing in knowledge and truth? Then obviously relationships with people at church and a time spent studying and reading and all of those things are to be valued. Determine your values and then align the people. Now here's where the rub comes in, okay? And it always does. What about being a Christian, Scott? I mean, what about following Jesus and pleasing people? Isn't pleasing people really just loving people? And as Christians, aren't we called to love all people? And I would think loving all people means pleasing all people. Let's jump into that and sort some of that out, okay? Authentically, let me say it this way. Authenticity, that's better. Authenticity and honesty and truthfulness is the way of Christ. Never, listen to me very carefully, never are we encouraged to become something or someone we are not in order to please other people. God made you a certain way. And if you and I do not lean into who God made us to be, and if we do not develop the person God made us to be, if we do not accept the person God made us to be, we will live fake lives, empty lives, hollow lives, and we will fake forever. We will appear on the outside successful, will appear happy, but on the inside we will be hollow. And eventually the truth comes out. Eventually the real you fights to get out. God made you a certain way, and you are to nurture the person God made you to be. Feed the person God made you to be. Mature the person God made you to be. Express the person God made you to be. Anything less than that, you will suppress and you will eventually suffocate. So no, following Jesus is not about going around and making sure everybody around you is happy and everybody around you is pleased with you and everybody around you likes you. That is not what it means to follow Jesus. God gave every person certain abilities and inclinations. Scripture doesn't call them inclinations. Scripture calls them gifts, spiritual gifts. You and I will do better in life if we are acting according to who we are rather than who we are not. This is how we should feel about all we do and about all we attempt to accomplish. This comes from Ecclesiastes 3, 12, 13, and 14 from the NIV version. I love these verses right here. There is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. That's basically what it means to follow Christ and to be the person you're told to be, filled with joy, filled with a sense of contentment and peace in his presence. And that is especially important during the time we're in right now, to eat and to drink and to love the people around you and to serve and to put your hands to good use and to do and accomplish the things that you're gifted and called to accomplish. And that is exactly how we will feel if and when we act according to our makeup, our giftings, our abilities, and live authentic, real, honest lives away from all the shallow people-pleasing stuff. Get out of the shallow and into authenticity. Get out of the hollow and into what's real. Get out of the illusions and into reality. Get away from trying to make sure everybody loves you and takes, and thinks about you and cares for you, and get into who it is God wired you and made you to be. I picked up this question from Dr. Henry Cloud in his book, Never Go Back. Before you invest yourself in a person, I'm telling you, this is gold right here, okay? Before you invest yourself in a person, a relationship, a team, a company, a career, a church, or anything that you will be a part of in a meaningful way, ask yourself this question: can I do this and still be me? Can I do this and still be me? And this is difficult to answer sometimes because way too often we take the road most traveled. Our daddy was a business owner, so we're supposed to be a business owner. Our granddaddy did this, our daddy did this, so we got to do this. Maybe our mama stayed home and homeschooled and had a litter of kids, so now we got to think we got to do that. Or maybe your mom decided she only wanted one child and thinks that's the best, and maybe you want more, but you got to try to stay in line with what your family says. Maybe your entire family expects you to go into politics or ministry or law, but that's not what you want to do. You want to be a musician or an artist or a police officer. Can you do whatever it is? Can you give a significant portion of yourself to this thing, whatever it is, and still be the person you're wired and made to be? If not, don't do it. But Scott, that's going to make my father upset. It's not about people pleasing. Yeah, but that's going to make my best friend think differently of me. It's not about people pleasing. Yeah, but that's going to make this business upset or this church upset or this pastor upset. Listen, it's not about people pleasing. It's about you living authentically and real and whole and out of the illusions and into reality and away from the shadows and into the light. It's about you being the person God wired you to be. Don't go there if you can't do that and still be you. Get out, get away, start over. Now, before we get into what God says about us being our true selves, our authentic selves, Dr. Cloud clarifies what we're not saying. And I know how this is because every time I present a message like this, people want to text in or call or stop me in the lobby, which I love. I'm not discouraging that. It just happens and says, is this what you mean? Are you saying this? So let me clarify a few things we're not saying in this message. Okay, number one, we're not saying it's all about me. Like, get away from anything that's not truly who you are, and don't worry about everybody else around you being pleased. Well, Scott, it sounds like you're saying everything's about me. No. No one is encouraging making everything about you. In fact, research reveals seeking your own happiness, your own fulfillment above anyone else is ultimately destructive. And that's a miserable way to live. So nobody's saying make everything about you and you alone. Number two, we're not saying never do anything that isn't you. Sometimes you sacrifice. Sometimes you get out of your comfort zones. Sometimes you take on some challenges that pushes you. In fact, I don't know if you'll ever grow unless you get out of where you're comfortable and sacrifice some things and try some things you don't necessarily enjoy and learn to love some new things. So nobody is saying that you never do anything that isn't you. Number three, we're not saying never set a part of yourself for someone else, like set a part of yourself aside so you can serve. Nobody's saying don't do that. Rights, freedoms, privileges are often to be put away for the sake of important relationships. I mean, we're right in the middle of that right now. I wanted to gather this morning live right here at Forest Park. I wanted hundreds of people to walk in our lobby. I wanted to see people and talk to people. I wanted our band to present the set that they had and encourage people. I wanted new people to come for the very first time. I wanted to meet them and shake hands with them. I wanted to present this message live with all of our slides and with all the different things that we offer and lighting. And I love that. I enjoy being with people, and I enjoy people learning in a group. But hey, there's something greater than that right now that's happening in our nation, and we all got to get together to do the best we can to love and serve one another. So I'm sitting here and presenting something live. Sometimes you got to set what you want aside, what you enjoy aside, for the sake of other people. It's not easy, but that's the way it is. In fact, Philippians 2, verse 3 says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit." So we're not talking about doing something selfishly. We're not talking about doing something in an arrogant or vain way. No, Paul says, rather in humility, value others above yourself. That means that you look at other people and you lift them up and you value them and you serve them and you care for them as you would yourself. So here's what we are saying. Those are a few things we're not saying. Here's what we are saying. One thing. We're saying this. It is imperative. It is imperative for you to be in touch with who God made you to be. In fact, I know that there are many of you watching right now, many of you sitting there in your living room or wherever it is you are, and you're watching this message. You're not really sure who God made you to be. You don't know for certain how you're wired, how you're put together. You're living a life right now because somebody else created a life for you to live. You're doing some things because you think that's what you're supposed to do. But you're empty on the inside. I mean, you get some joy out of it. There's some fun in it. But there's often nights when you lay your head down on the pillow, you just think, am I going to do this the rest of my life? Like, is this it? I just feel like I'm out of sorts. I'm out of the water. I'm supposed to be in the water and I'm out, or I'm on land, and or I'm in the water and I should be on land. You're just out of where you need to be. It is imperative for you to be in touch with who God made you to be. Know who that person is. Know your values. Know your boundaries. Know what you will sacrifice. Know what you won't sacrifice. Know for whom you will sacrifice and for whom you will not sacrifice. Folks, we got to know those answers to those questions. How am I wired? Who will I sacrifice for? Who are the people I'm going to please? Who are the people I'm not going to please? It's getting yourself into reality. Here's a great point Cloud makes. Jesus said that there is no greater love than to give one's life for someone else. But in order to give one's life, you got to have a life to give. Some of us do not really seem to have a life to give. We're just going through the motions. We're just getting up and going about our life, but we're not sure who we are, who we're wired to be, how we're supposed to be living. Some of us aren't sure about a lot of things about us. So we're giving away a life, but it's not our life we're giving away. It's the life our daddy created for us. It's the life our husband created for us. It's a life that we're trying to please mom or an employer or a pastor or whatever it is. In fact, I wonder how many people will get to the end of their lives and it will occur to them that they never really lived their lives, but they lived the life somebody was expecting them to live. What a miserable feeling. To realize your career, your time, your energy, your waking hours were consumed with meeting the goals and dreams and expectations of other people. That has got to be a miserable feeling. And now it's too late. You wake up and you're kind of past your prime and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. To me that reminds me, it's the doctor who wanted to be a musician his whole life. It's the teacher that wanted to own her own business. It's the pastor who wanted to be a professor. It's the attorney who wanted to be a mechanic. It's the Coast Guard man or woman who wanted to build houses. The woman who wanted children, but to please her husband, she let him pursue his career, and she never had kids. And now she regrets that. It's the man who wanted to farm and live a simple life in a small town, but he moved to this big city. And now he works 70 hours a week because he's trying to give what he believes his wife wants as a certain lifestyle, or vice versa. It's the woman who wanted to pursue spiritual growth and start a ministry, but whose husband didn't like church. and she gave in to keep him happy, and now she regrets that. Folks, one day each of us will face the truth. Did I live authentically? Did I live honestly, truthfully? Did I live my life, or did I live the life of someone else? What about it? Where are you with all of that? How closely are you aligned to what you want to do, want to accomplish, your values, your heart, your goals? Let's face a very difficult reality, okay? And this is a difficult one. And it's going to sound so silly and even almost humorous when I say it, but I'll explain it and you'll get it. Ducks are ducks and eagles are eagles. That's reality. And if you take ducks to eagle school, everything falls apart. John Maxwell, in his book Leadership Gold, he expands on this concept a little bit. And I've tried to live this out over the last few years, and it's not always easy, but it's important for us to realize this. Here are three things he says, real simple. Number one, if you send ducks to eagle school, you'll frustrate the ducks. If you send ducks to eagle school, you'll frustrate the eagles. And if you send ducks to eagle school, you'll frustrate yourself. You see, some of us are ducks, and some of us are eagles. And ducks do duck things, and eagles do eagle things. And if you are an eagle and you're attempting to do duck stuff, you're going to mess up. And if you're a duck attempting to do eagle stuff, you're going to mess up. Ducks are ducks, and eagles are eagles. Know who you are, and know who the people around you are. I want all the ducks right now to look at me, okay? You know who you are. Quit trying to be an eagle. I want all the eagles to look at me. Quit trying to be a duck. We need them both, and we need them to be in their area of expertise and giftings. Now, this duck versus eagle analogy can be used in so many areas. You can probably carry that out and use it in different places. When you're getting into a relationship with a person, or you're beginning a new thing, ask yourself this question. Is this person or thing suitable and right for me? Does it meet my values? Does it fit me? Or am I trying to send a duck to eagle school? Because it's never going to work. When you're dating, is this person a duck or an eagle? And listen, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and swims like a duck, it's a duck. That's what it is. Know who you are, know the people around you, put the boundaries in place, live authentically, live honestly, lean into who you are, get out of the illusions into what's really going on. Name it for what it is. Let me give you this scripture, Romans 12:3 from the Phillips translation. I love this translation. I love this verse. Listen to this. As your spiritual teacher, Paul is writing, I give this piece of advice to each one of you. Don't cherish exaggerated ideas of yourself or your importance, but try to have a sane estimate of your capabilities. A sane estimate of your capabilities. How wise is that? Know who you are. Know your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your boundaries, and live accordingly. Ephesians 2:10. You are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we would walk in them. God has wired you a certain way. You are his workmanship. There are giftings he's given to you. There's a calling on your life. There's things for you to fulfill. Do you know what it is? Don't change who you are to please other people. Live your life fully, completely. Lean into it. Be the person God wired you to be. Be honest, brutally honest about who you are. Don't deny it. Don't give it away. Last thing I'm going to give you today, we're going to pray and we're going to be gone from here, okay? Dr. Cloud provides some outstanding questions to ask yourself before you venture into a new relationship or begin a new job or start a new career. I gave you one a moment ago. Can I do this? Can I enter into this and still be me? Well, here are 4 questions that he gives. You can write these down. This is greatly helpful. I use these or try to use these when I'm looking at something else. Here are the 4 questions. Number 1, why am I doing this? Before you take that job, before you say yes to that, before you do anything at all, ask yourself, why am I doing this? It gets to the motive. What's really going on behind the scenes? Number two, is this something God has equipped me to do? Do I really feel at the core of my being, God has given me the gifts, He's given me the abilities, He's given me what it is I need to accomplish this? Number three, is this a sacrifice I'm supposed to make? You're not supposed to make every sacrifice. Everybody is to make sacrifices together, but you can't make all of them. So is this particular thing a sacrifice I'm supposed to make? And then the last question is this sustainable? Meaning, can I do this long term? So work your way through those four questions. Why am I doing this? It gets to motive. Is this something God's equipped me to do? That gets to how I'm wired, how I'm put together. Number three, is it a sacrifice I'm supposed to make? And number four, can I do this long term? And if you look at it and say, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I believe God's wired me for this, given me the abilities to do this. This is an opportunity for me. It's a passion of mine. It's a value. Awesome. Is this something God has equipped me to do? Yeah, I believe I have the abilities to do this. I've seen this in my life. It's proven itself many other times. Great. Is this a sacrifice you're supposed to make? Yeah, I do. I really believe this is something I'm supposed to give time, attention, money, energy, passion to. And is it sustainable? Yeah. If I put the right boundaries in place, I put the right people around me, I can do this long term. Hey, if that's it, go for it. Put everything you've got in it and be the person God has wired you to be. But if you got to change who you are, you got to compromise who you are, you got to sacrifice your values, you got to tear down boundaries, and you got to live a hollow and shallow life in order to accomplish that, run from it. I just want to close out today with prayer. I want to take all of those and give them to you. There are some of you, no doubt, that when you listen to this message today, you're thinking, wow, that's me right there. Scott, the deal is I'm a people pleaser. I mean, that's all there is to it. And some of the people in my life I'm trying to please are very close to me. Maybe it's your husband or wife, or maybe it's a child, or maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, and you love the person. And you're like, I'm not really sure how to change it. I think you're going to have, first of all, a very honest conversation with yourself. You're going to have an honest conversation with God. And then you might have to sit down with that person, or you might just have to start making some very slow changes and start moving that relationship in a much healthier place. Don't compromise who you are just to make other people happy. Don't do that. I'm telling you, that's a road toward death and decay. It seems like it's a great road. Oh, this is going to lead to life. It doesn't. It leads to death. So let me pray for you, and we'll go from there. Father, thank you for today's message. Thank you for what we're talking about at Forest Park. There's so many lessons that I've learned over the last few years, things that I never want to do again. And God, today's a big one. I have lived so much of my life trying to make other people happy around me. And as a pastor, it's so easy to fall into that because of this family or this person or this idea, and you just want to change who you are and try your best to make people happy. And it sounds so selfless. It sounds so Christian. But Father, the reality is I've manipulated and I've tried to get people to like me and change their feelings. And Father, I'm moving away from that more and more. And I ask you to help me with that. Father, help all the people listening. Father, help them to live authentic lives, honest lives, full lives, healthy lives. Help us to find out who we are and how we're wired and be the people you've called us to be. Once again, in the middle of all this fear and concern our nation has, bring peace, bring hope, bring joy. And we thank you for meeting us here today, even through the live feed and people at home watching and computers. And I thank you for technology and all the abilities we have. Father, so many churches are doing the best they can to communicate with their people and to love them and to serve them. May we all support one another and care for one another during this time. We ask these things in the wonderful name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you for joining us, and we'll keep in communication with you this week and let you know what next Sunday looks like and opportunities that we have to serve people. We're doing the best we can, and so many other people are. We love you. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.